this fight is one of the most challenging ones to actually predict. Mainly because I feel like Michael Chandler has a shot. Okay, let me introduce the fight. Michael Chandler versus Paddy Pimblett. So I think Michael Chandler has a shot at winning this fight because Paddy Pimblett fights with his chin up in the air. And I was one of the people who genuinely felt like Bobby Green had a shot at actually beating Paddy Pimblett if Bobby Green wasn't stupid enough to actually just jump into the guillotine. For whatever reason, he tried to take down Paddy Pimblett when he had a massive advantage on the feet. I mean, Bobby Green could have outstruck Paddy Pimblett in my opinion, but who knows? At this point, Bobby Green's lack of fight IQ screwed him, I guess, at this particular point. So we'll never know. But at the same time, Michael Chandler is not particularly good, man. He gets hit a lot. Like he gets hit significantly, like high amounts of times. But at the same time, if Charles Oliveira could not submit, if Charles Oliveira could not submit, what do you call him, Michael Chandler? I don't know if Paddy Pimblett is going to be able to do it. However, as I say that, I now remember that Dustin Poirier was able to submit Michael Chandler. So, but maybe he said he slipped. He slipped. Oh no, he didn't slip. Bobby Green is shot for the takedown. He's lying. So maybe I'll give Michael Chandler a pass as far as getting submitted by Dustin Poirier. Maybe because he went into that fight expecting Dustin Poirier to just fight him on the feet. He didn't probably assume that Dustin Poirier would be throwing in submissions. So maybe that's why maybe it caught him by surprise, right? But it still remains that Dustin Poirier submitted Michael Chandler, which is not a good look, especially when you consider Paddy Pimblett's grappling abilities, which is one of the things that worried me. On top of that, Michael Chandler has wasted his career. He's like now 37, 30, or 39, I don't know. He wasted his career waiting for Conor McGregor. And even beyond that, he came into the UFC a little bit too late for my liking. His two wins in the UFC, I think, are Dan Hooker at a time when Dan Hooker was declining, in my opinion. Not the current Dan Hooker. I think the current Dan Hooker would whoop his ass. So, and Tony Ferguson in the UFC. Outside of that, if Michael Chandler celebrates losing to these people, I mean, it's a decent list, but he still lost. He lost to Charles Oliveira. He lost to Dustin Poirier. He lost to Justin Gaethje. So it's not a good look, man, to actually lose to these kind of people. However, Michael Chandler has that one shot that can turn off the lights, which is one of the things that actually worry me about picking Paddy Pimblett. But my subscribers and I have officially picked Paddy Pimblett, mainly because of the fact that I feel like Paddy has the ability to actually strike with Chandler. I think Paddy has decent volume. I think Paddy has decent striking defense. So, and I think Paddy Pimblett can maybe find a way to actually mix it up, and grapple if he feels like maybe there's anything that makes him feel uncomfortable on the feet. But I'm not gonna lie, I'm still worried, a little bit worried about Chandler's power because he's very explosive throughout the entire fight. And Paddy Pimblett just leaves his chin up in the air to actually get caught, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you and say I'm not worried about that because I'm flipping worried about that. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Paddy Pimblett. He's the better wrestler, or rather, he's the better grappler. He's a little bit Chandler, the type of guy to get the subbed. Chandler get the type of guy to get subbed by Poirier and KO by Oliveira. I mean, it's crazy to even be saying this. Tizzy Rich, that Gordon win aged really well. I honestly think Paddy can get a KO as well. Yeah, man. Especially because yeah, I mean the striking exchanges between him and Gordon, were pretty decent. So I honestly think Paddy Pimblett on the feed might be able to actually get the advantage. Let me see if he has the reach because Michael Chandler is very short. Yeah, it's not a massive reach. It's like a 1.5-inch reach, but it's still nonetheless an advantage in Petty's favor. So, and in a fight whereby you're fighting someone as explosive as Michael Chandler, I think it's going to be very useful to actually stay out of Michael Chandler's explosion range, basically. But we have also have to take into consideration that Michael Chandler is not afraid of cheating. So I could see a situation whereby he does whatever it takes to actually get this one done. Um, I don't know. I just feel like Paddy is a bit frail and he's susceptible to actually getting caught somehow. But I'm still going to go with Paddy. My subscribers also picked Paddy Pimblett to actually get it done. I'm not very confident in this particular pick, to be honest. I'm worried about Chandler's explosiveness, and Chandler is very inconsistent. In one fight, he gets killed by the one of the best submission artists in Charles Oliveira. In the other fight, he gets submitted by one of the best strikers um, in the UFC in Dustin Poirier. So it's very confusing to know how Michael Chandler is going to actually perform in this particular fight because he gets submitted by strikers and gets knocked out by grapplers. And I know Charles Oliveira is not just a grappler; he has good striking abilities. But my point is like you get submitted by Dustin Poirier and get knocked out by Charles Oliveira. It doesn't make sense. You should be getting submitted by Charles Oliveira and get knocked out by Dustin Poirier. So I don't know, man. For me personally, combined with Michael Chandler's low IQ and the fact that he's very inconsistent in his outcomes as far as fights go, and the fact that he's aged at this point, he came into the UFC late. He's lost more fights than he has won in the UFC. I just feel like Paddy Pimblett is going to find a way to actually stay safe, strike with him, and maybe get a submission or a decision, right? Um, but because of Michael Chandler's explosiveness, I'm going to say I don't know. I think this fight could go either way. Michael Chandler can just explode, hold his pants, and just knock him out, and the judges will just look at it because somehow when Michael Chandler cheats, it's perfectly fine. So, yeah, that's the breakdown. My subscribers and I are going with Paddy Pimblett, and upset is highly possible here. I don't know who the fans or the bettors are favoring, but I think an upset is definitely possible. It could go either way. Um, Let me reply to your comment so that I can go to the last fight, which I think is Gene Silva versus Bryce Mitchell. That's an interesting one. Let me respond to your comment. So my main worry on Paddy is gas tank and kinda unloads sometimes. He seemed a little gassed in the end of the Tony fight because he wanted a finish. Yeah, and Michael Chandler, we've seen, especially in his last fight. I mean, he actually was fighting really, really well as far as cardio goes, even later in the rounds against Charles Oliveira. So yeah, that's why I'm saying an upset is possible. Like this fight could go either way, to be honest. I'm going to break down the last fight for today, and then I'll see you guys tomorrow. Join me on the next stream. I'm going to break down Bryce Mitchell versus Gene Silva. Yeah, deuces.